Hi, I'm Mark, and on this channel I talk about UK politics and Brexit from an outside view. Although I do know the UK from the inside as well, so don't worry about that part. The new government is stepping up on the gas. Nationalizations and tax finance projects are intended to revive the ailing economy, and not everyone is enthusiastic about it. The train from London Marylebone to Oxford Parkway is running as usual, which is not a given, as around 5% of trains in the United Kingdom have recently been cancelled. And the sign on the platform there shows the destination station Chiltern Railways, and next to it the parent company Arriva, that's a Deutsche Bahn company. Even if the lettering is no longer up to date, Deutsche Bahn sold the heavily indebted British transport company to a US investor last year. The sign testifies to the international diversity of companies that train passengers encounter on their journeys in Great Britain. The new government wants to change that, also because it is convinced that this diversity is to blame for the 5% I mentioned. In addition, the fast pay-as-you-go ticket purchase process is to be introduced everywhere. That means it should be possible to pay for the journey with a credit card contactless at the entrance to the platform for all rail journeys. That's a very practical convenience indeed. The railways are to be nationalized gradually. That means after the respective contracts with the private companies expire. A dozen operators are affected, and Chiltern Railways would be the first in April 2025. The new Great British Railways was one of the projects that Prime Minister Keir Starmer asked the King to read out in his speech. Tradition dictates that at the opening of a parliamentary year, the monarch, sitting on a golden throne in the House of Lords, presents the government's plans. This time, for the first time in 14 years, these were the Labour Party's plans. The King, who arrived by carriage 5 minutes late, presented 40 legislative proposals, and one of the most important messages is that the United Kingdom is in an economic crisis and needs immense growth. And the economy cannot achieve this alone. In addition to the railway reform, the establishment of Great British Energy was announced, a state-owned company for environmentally friendly energy supplies that is intended to make Great Britain and Northern Ireland more independent from foreign countries. 8.3 billion British pounds of taxpayers' money is to be used, for example, for wind farms off the coast and what has so far often failed due to resistance from the affected regions, also on land. In addition, a national wealth fund endowed with £7.3 billion is to promote sustainable industries, such as CO2 storage and green hydrogen, generate private investment and create jobs. By 2030, Labour wants to have completely converted the kingdom to clean energy. And another plan is 1.5 million homes are to be built in the next 5 years, and local authorities are to drive implementation. The figure is not a guideline, but a mandatory target. The English press reacted in different ways to the new government's bold approach. Britain has not had such an interventionist government since the 1970s, writes The Guardian. Starmer wants to create the conditions that are necessary in these difficult times to reduce the cost of living and at the same time restore public faith in politics. Even if it is still too early to judge the plans, there is no doubt about the Prime Minister's ambition. The Telegraph is less impressed. Apparently, no one in the cabinet has read the chapter in the relevant standard works that dealt with the Soviet Union's unfortunate economic policy. Planned economy does not work, and Labour will learn its lesson, but it's a shame that this process will be so expensive for all of us, they wrote. Starmer, who ran in the United Kingdom to release the brakes, is meanwhile continuing to step on the gas. Last week he received 45 politicians from across Europe at Blenheim Palace near Oxford Parkway Station for the meeting of the European political community. A first step to strengthen trade relations with the European Union, as the King said. Incidentally, anyone who travelled to London by train after the summit had no problems with Chiltern Railways. And UK Finance Minister or Chancellor of the Exchequer Rachel Reeves has called on local pension funds to pool their £360 billion of assets on a larger scale. Reeves is planning a major review of the UK pension system and warned that legislative action would be taken if sufficient progress is not made by March 2025. The Local Government Pension Scheme for England and Wales, the LGPS, is theoretically the 7th largest pension fund in the world. In practice, however, it is managed by 86 separate local authority pension funds, making it difficult to achieve economies of scale in those investments. Over the past decade, pension funds have already worked together to achieve economies of scale through 8 asset pools. The previous Conservative government encouraged the funds to accelerate these efforts and to invest more in projects that boost local economies and in private equity, an asset class considered a riskier asset class that was supposed to boost economic growth. On Saturday, Reeves stressed that she expected greater pooling of pension money to fund a wider range of UK assets. And as I said, if sufficient progress is not made by March 25, the government would consider legislative action. The Treasury said action would be taken to unlock the full investment potential of the LGPs and make it an engine of UK growth. The review also aims to reduce the £2 billion annual fees. The initiative could spark tensions with the trustees of the LGPS funds, who are legally required to invest in the best interest of their members. If the performance of investments does not perform as expected, local councils and workers would have to make higher contributions. Reeves' push is the first step in a wider review of the pension system, led by new Pensions Minister Emma Reynolds. The aim is to encourage investment in the UK economy, improve people's retirement savings, and tackle what they call waste. This may include a consolidation of private sector pension funds. And the Treasury announced that an assessment of pension adequacy in the UK would be carried out to improve the financial situation of people in retirement. And on Monday, Reeves and Reynolds chaired a roundtable session with representatives from the pensions industry to launch the review. The development came after the announcement of the new pensions bill in the royal speech last Wednesday, and this bill would ensure that small pension accounts are automatically pooled and introduce a value for money test for defined contribution schemes. Reeves is determined to strengthen the role of UK pension funds in the domestic economy and infrastructure. An investment shift of just 1% in defined contribution schemes could deliver £8 billion of new productive investments in the UK economy, as the Chancellor said. And last Tuesday, Reeves chaired her first Growth Mission Board, a new cross-sector committee created to achieve the Labour Party goal of achieving the highest sustainable growth in the G7 group of leading industrialized countries. And if you want to know more, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.